35,000 feet over the mid-Atlantic. 118 passengers dozed under dim turquoise cabin lights, unaware that a fat line of cumulonimbus ahead had begun to arc static against the metal skin of SkyReach Flight 270. The cockpit captain Marta Gomez and first officer Leo Sanabria traced lightning on their weather radar and plotted a shallow dogleg north. The 767 had plenty of fuel and enough coffee, and the ocean at night was a velvet nothing until a spear of white the width of a tree trunk stabbed the left wingtip and detonated into the fuselage with a bang like dynamite in a freight elevator. Static crackled through every headset. Both pilot microphones died mid-word. Leo flinched as the VHF COMM1 display flickered to black. COM2 went a second later. The right-hand HF set coughed a burst of unreadable digits, then flatlined. Cockpit filled with the bright smell of ozone. Leo toggled each pushed talk switch, but the headsets hissed empty. A single amber light glared from the glare shield. COMM FAIL. 30 rows aft. Seat 19 Foxtrot. Alex Morel yanked earbuds free as the cabin lights strobed. He felt the airplane jerk sideways a hair. Nothing dramatic, but enough to slide the ice. In his ginger ale, laptops around him flickered. Alex, 34, Boston software engineer by trade, radio hobbyist by obsession. Traveled with a battered ThinkPad, an RTL-SDR dongle taped to the lid, and more antenna adapters than pairs of socks. He had told his girlfriend he would not even look at a Spectrum waterfall during this vacation. The promise lasted until the moment systems went silent. Flight attendant Inez swept down the aisle, performing the practiced smile-scan-smile sequence, and saw Alex waving politely but insistently. He spoke low so neighbors wouldn't hear. "Your radio's just failed. Can probably reach Shanwick on 5 megahertz if you'll let me tap into your Wi-Fi coax." Inez blinked. Alex flipped open his wallet. FCC, Amateur Extra License, Calcium N1. Ammed a small metal SDR badge from DEFCON. She nodded once, vanished forward, then returned to escort him to the forward galley bulkhead, where Captain Gomez met them with. The cockpit door cracked just enough for voice, and Alex kept the pitch short. Lightning surge had likely fried both VHF transceivers at their RF modules along with the satellite antenna amp. Cabin Wi-Fi used a Q-band phased array antenna under a rod dome aft of row 24, cabled by 40 feet of low-loss coax. That coax, plus a little aluminum tape and a balloon, could be repurposed as a modest HF long wire. The omnidirectional gain would be awful, but a clean 5-watt carrier on the 5 megahertz guard channel might net Shanwick Radio if solar noise was kind. You would need a laptop, the SDR dongle, seatback USB power, and an old headphone wire for a key. Captain Gomes weighed the crazy against the alternative, an oceanic blind descent toward Lisbon with no separation. Clarence told Inez to fetch whatever the man asked for. Inez and fellow attendant Marco raided the galley junk drawer. USB extension lead, roll of aluminum HVAC tape, and a spare in-flight headphone set. Alex fished a pocket multi-tool and a matchbook-size RTL SDR from his backpack. He pried open the headphone mini-plug, rewired tip and sleeve to a single push-button, salvaged from the broken armrest of seat 19. Echo. That button would key continuous wave Morse by grounding the push-to talk pin on the dongle's GPIO header. He stripped the Wi-Fi coax inside the ceiling panel near row 23, wrapped 3 turns of headphone ground around the shield. Soldered the braid to the balloon coil he wound around a plastic coffee stirrer, then taped the coil to cabin. Aluminum stringers instant HF choke. The ThinkPad booted into GQRX. Blue waterfall poured down the screen like rain. He tuned to 5012 kilohertz, major guard frequency for North Atlantic HF. Noise floor minus 100 decibels. Good. He clicked transmit at a conservative 5 watts, keyed the improvised switch, and sent SOSS Mayday, SkyReach, 270 nitrogen monoxide, VHF nitrogen monoxide, HF POZN 49W32. FL350 request voice RELY dots and dashes flickered. The carrier hump rose 10 dB over noise. Alex counted to 12. A thin trace climbed on the waterfall, offset 1 kHz low. Then text buzzed through the Morse decoder overlay. SkyReach to 7-0. This is Shanwick Radio CW copy. Good send. Soul's fuel unexed. Alex grinned, adrenaline shaking his thumb. He scribbled figures. Keyed again. SOUL, S197 fuel, 34.5 metric ton divert, Lisboa WXCB top 490 request clear route. And DSCNTN, sighed the cockpit. Leo leaned through the door gap to listen on a borrowed crew headset patched into the ThinkPad's audio jack. Morse spilled fast but readable. He jotted translations on a clipboard. When Alex paused to breathe, Leo broke protocol and clapped him on the shoulder. Captain Gomes called. Ask for opposite direction traffic 20 west. Alex keyed the request. Shanwick replied, no traffic FL 352, FL 290, southbound 20 west cleared, direct leaper report next. Leo read clearance aloud. Captain Gomes dialed new headings manually into the flight director. No autopilot voice confirmation, only silent. Obedience. In coach class, some passengers whispered about the man with wires taped to the ceiling. Marco calmly announced, ladies and gentlemen, we are restoring communications using alternative equipment. Please remain seated. A small boy asked if the man was hacking Netflix. His father said, no, kiddo, he's hacking Earth. Over the next 20 minutes, Alex maintained 5-minute check-ins. HF propagation at night was fickle. Several times Shanwick shifted him up band to 6,760 kHz. Once down to 3,440, chasing clearer ionospheric skip. Each time Alex retuned, rechecked carrier harmonics, and sent crisp 30-word per minute code. Ahead, thundercloud anvils glowed electric blue where St. Elmo's fire crawled across edges. Shanwick passed a deviation vector 20 nautical miles south of planned route to avoid echo tops 50,000 feet. Gomes, with no weather radar overlay, plotted the lot-long offsets manually into the inertial nav. Outside, lightning spilled sideways, but the 767 slid under starfields unmarred by static. 2 hours scraped by. Cabin oxygen gauges remained green. Passengers dozed again, crisis hidden under recycled air hum. Alex flexed numb fingers, sipping water between transmissions. Seatback USB delivered barely 1 amp. His ThinkPad battery sagged alarmingly. Marco collected 3 power banks from generous passengers. Alex daisy chained them like wartime field telephones. 140 nautical miles from Lisbon, Shanwick handed them to Santa Maria HF, then to Lisboa Control. Each relay hopped across amateur and professional nets. Lisboa Approach offered a VHF Guard 121.5 relay via another flight. Laxkeyed. For 5 minutes straight, but static 8 replies. He stuck with HF. Descent began through scattered cirrus. Flaps lever clunked. Actuators responded. Hydraulics fine. Landing lights drilled into darkness. At 8,000 feet, Leo gave final winds. 310 at 8 knots, runway 03 in use, braking action good. Alex tapped out final. Call time, O2Z. Lisboa answered CLNR and thanked him in crisp Morse. 2 HR captains, PLSRPT. Hotel? He keyed Wilco. On short final, passengers pressed noses to windows at the sight of yellow sodium runway lamps blooming under wings. The 767 met asphalt with a gentle squeal. Without radio's tower could not clear them to cross runway 17. Tug crews arrived instead, attaching towbers while Gomes shut engines at the rapid exit. Apron ground marshalers signaled thumbs up. Lisbon's chief of operations boarded, wearing a reflective vest and an incredulous grin. Captain Gomes filed a 2-page irregularity report, but spent half the meeting describing Alex's impromptu radio link. Maintenance counted 3 burnt capacitors in each VHF transceiver and a fused LNA in the SAT antenna. Lightning current had traveled through common mode into every coax. The Wi-Fi array, isolated behind DC blocks, had survived becoming the unlikely lifeline Alex exploited. Airline PR released a statement next morning. Passenger expertise enabled safe communication after rare dual radio failure. Tech blogs lapped the story. Commenters argued about legality of unapproved RF transmissions. Radio subreddits hailed Alex as proof of hobby utility. FCC officials quietly emailed Captain Gomes for recordings. None existed, voice having traveled as Morse through the Atlantic night. 2 weeks later, SkyReach installed an official HF emergency patch port guarded by a plastic seal near mid-cabin SAT modem, including a laminated card, an extreme COMM failure. Ames called this number. Alex received lifetime free Wi-Fi, vouchers, and an invitation to brief the airline's safety committee. He still preferred code to PowerPoint, but accepted. Opening his talk by holding up a single stripped headphone wire and saying, "Small tools solve big voids." On the ground, he rides commuter trains, listening to CW beacons bouncing off ionosphere layers most passengers never know exist. When someone beside him wonders aloud if phone bars will ever vanish, Alex smiles and thinks of aluminum tape, a coffee stirrer balloon, and a cockpit silent as snow until letters tapped the dark ocean like pebbles on a window. SOS, 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 E60S, AS, AS, EOS, SOS, 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 intend. Secret Warrior Stories ends this flight log, awaiting the next invisible lifeline built from whatever knowledge a quiet passenger brings aboard.